Well, good morning, Jeremy.
Morning, Will.
Good morning. I'm glad to be able to talk with you. And we met a few years ago when I borrowed your recorder when I was in Kansas City, and I had forgotten mine, and you were generous enough to loan me yours. So I appreciate that. And just to introduce you, you are a photographer and a poet, an artist. Um, Anything else as far as introduction about just what you do? Is that your source of income as well?
Yes, yeah, that's my full time gig and profession as a photographer, artist, uh, video producer, visual storyteller is among the many titles that I kind of call myself at times.
So, who are your clients for the most part?
Um, most or almost all of my clients are nonprofit organizations and kind of grassroots community groups, are who I enjoy working with the most. And so anyone who has kind of important stories to tell, meaningful, beautiful stories about um, human struggle and human joy and all of that good stuff.
That sounds like a really interesting profession to be in, and to be able to, make an income at it, provide for yourself through it too. It seems pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. I do love what I do. It's not always easy being self-employed and working um, with working with the nonprofit sector is really rewarding, but it's also, you know, um, it has its challenges too. But it's the the kind of meaningful um, missions of the organizations and the um, kind of authentic stories that we're able to tell makes it all that worth it.
Mm-hmm. Does most of your business come from word of mouth?
Yeah, most of it is word of mouth, relationships through my network is kind of the majority of my work, and um, really it's kind of I guess how I those are the tend to be the um, most enjoyable or like best quality because relationship is kind of the foundation of community and everything. So for to have be connected from someone that I knew before that I did a project with, or someone I knew personally, kind of tends to lead to just a more natural match or connection with what I do and how I
Yeah,
operate.
cool. Where are you from?
So I'm from Kansas City, born and raised, still live here.
Okay. And well, so you're an artist, and I guess my question is why. Um, it seems to be like art seems to be a form of communication. Um, so, what inspires you about your work and makes it meaningful to you, or just why is it that you do what you do?
Mm. Yeah, the why. I love the question why. Um, so, I mean, so first of all, like being an artist is goes beyond and goes deeper than just my client work, um, my kind of client commissions. Um, most most of my client work is in video production and photography, um, and those are kind of my primary art forms and mediums. But as you mentioned, I also um, identify as a poet and write and have a lot of other ideas um, that come to fruition at different times or not, and just keep simmering in my head. But basically, all that to say is like being an artist is um, more of a, I guess, approach and perspective, an approach to life and a perspective on the world. And um, so I can't, I'm not exactly sure why, um, but it's kind of just a part of who I am. Being an artist, being um, uh, someone who, I don't want to say, I guess, lives or in an artistic way, but um, just a um, yeah, way of seeing, way of being, and then of course, like creating is um, central to even like identifying as an artist. So um, it's hmm, I guess I have a vision. We all do, but I have this vision that I want to share um, with as many people as possible. If it's and hopefully somebody finds some value or a different perspective than their own. Um, and really, I think truly everybody has their own vision, of course, and everybody has creativity that's innate in them. Um, and just it kind of depends a lot, I think, on when we're kids and whether we are allowed to let that creativity just roam freely, or if we're giving coloring books and saying stay inside the lines, or like kind of told by adults that, or that somehow communicated by adults that we are not artists or that we're not creative or not original. Like um, a lot of it's kind of conditioned, and not to say everybody is an artist or wants to be an artist, but I think everybody has within them that artistic um, nature or creativity, and able somehow able to share their vision if we were just allowed to be nurtured in it.
Yeah. Sometimes when I think of art, I think of like someone trying to express something that they can't find words for. It's almost like there's just nothing I can really say to communicate how I feel about something, but maybe through a poem or through some type of artwork, I can try to get that emotion out in some way. And then,
Right.
but for you, it sounds a little bit more like you have this vision and you want to communicate it and impact people with it. So that seems like a little a little different, like it's like a message and you're trying to get it out. Is that right?
Uh, I think you're kind of getting to it. Um, but I love what you're saying that like there's something that is can't be really described that we're trying to just hint at or try to get a little ride that feeling a little longer with art. Um, I think I do think I'm kind of a little different um, than most artists, or at least maybe like the stereotypical artist, in that um, most of my work or my approach is not about like my own personal expression or trying to like examine my internal life, but more about yeah, like you're saying, my vision. Um, I wouldn't say I have a message per se. At least, well, maybe sometimes I do, but I think when I my my best work or my most effective um, work is usually when I'm not trying to get like a specific message or kind of philosophy across. Instead, um, it is more just when I want to just hint at some kind of universal truth or universal experience that amongst all people, or um, um, yeah, just kind of sit with um, some of the paradoxes of life, um, if that's the plural of paradoxes. Um, so um, it's yeah, I think that's kind of getting to it a little bit, um, of my approach. Definitely not everything, but
Mhm.
is that kind of, yeah.
It kind of seems like art is trying to um, grasp at something that just can't really be grasped. So you use the word hint, and that's kind of seems like what it is sometimes. Um, I lately I've been thinking about how do humans have a connection with God, and it seems in a similar way that it's not something that can really be grasped. The the way it's sometimes described in the Bible is like it's a spiritual connection. Jesus talked about, um, it's better if I go away because then I can send the Spirit. And Paul talks about walking by the Spirit. And there's like, so it seems to be a spiritual connection, but just what is that? Like uh, you can kind of, well, I can kind of relate to it, I think. Um, but it's not something that I could spell out with words. This is what a spiritual connection with God is, but it seems just something that can't just be grasped and said with a few words.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems art in the same way is hinting at something that can't
Yeah,
just be grasped, I guess.
right. Yeah, and I think, um, to like follow up on something I said just earlier, is that while I don't tend to follow like the idea of an artist just being about personal self expression, like I am like, um, wanting to explore more and like committed to the idea of, um, exploring my own personal experience, still like my own direct experience of life, of what could be, called the spiritual, what may be like the, um, kind of embodied, um, experience of God, of the divine, of the spiritual, of the tangible as well in this world. So, and that's, through, we experience that through our emotions, we experience that through our physical sensations, um, through our minds, through, um, our direct like sensation, but connections with, each other and with the rest of the kind of beyond human world. Um, so it's, um, yeah, there is, there are so many ways of, um, I guess, tapping into that energy or tapping into that, um, um, divine, um, divineness. Um, but yeah, art is one of the ways um, that I'm like I get most excited about, um, as far as those different modes or paths of, exploring that connection and mystery.
Okay. So I'm going to bring up some things that I've been thinking about, reading about, and but I don't know what's on your mind. If there's anything that's been turning around in your mind, feel free to bring up anything like that.
Okay.
But as I was just jotting down some questions, now I'm looking back on them and they look a little bit weird. This question is, what is your order or rock in the midst of chaos? I've been listening to Jordan Peterson sometimes, and are you familiar with Jordan Peterson?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so he's a psychologist, and now he's more of a speaker and author, and he talks about chaos and order. Like we need both. Um, Chaos is more where creativity comes from and so forth, and order, it's kind of more of that stability and so forth. And you get too far in the order, and things can be cold and dead. Get too more, but you can't live just totally in the chaos. Things, you have to have some grounding or something. But I guess what I was thinking of when I was just jotted down that note was, for you, when life seems a mess, and and you don't know where it's going, and it's not something you can understand and so forth, um, do you try to find some like mental stability in some way? Do you come back to some fundamental beliefs, something that helps you feel grounded in the world and um, secure and that type of thing? Is there,
Mm.
anything? What's it for you that orders stability, or thing that you find a home for your soul in, or something along those lines?
Mhm. Mm. Yeah, interesting question. Um, I guess, um, it feels like a relevant question because, like, this past year, especially, like for many people, I'm sure has just been kind of shaken my foundation, shaken that stability of um, what uh, what is reliable, or what is real, and what is like uh, what could we come back to as um, what something to um, feel grounded in. And I don't know, I guess it's something that I'm always wondering and thinking about. I think there is something to be said about kind of at times uh, embracing the chaos or the disorder, um, because, like you say, it's like the part of the nature of universe and reality. But also know that we can't stay in that forever. We might kind of lose it. I think for me, some those things are uh, my relationships, my closest relationships that um, um, in themselves can feel, disordered or um, hard, difficult at times. Like still, like underneath it all, like the love that's there um, is grounding for me. And when I get like un unsettled by um, my life, but also the more so the um, disorder or violence of the world that's in the world, then coming back and remembering those who I know and love and who know and love me directly feels stabilizing. Um, and beyond that, um, you know, art, of course. I read some of my favorite poets, and like Mary Oliver or Langston Hughes, and um, all these poets and artists that don't don't shy away from the uncomfortable parts of life, of death and violence and strife, but also are able to see um, the beautiful and the joyous, and kind of hold those at the same time, um, is grounding. And also, you know, the Gospels themselves, specifically, like the life and teachings of Jesus, um, are something that I can always come back to. Um, even as I have um, maybe even as I do like have struggled at time with the church, with the greater church, and like all the um, uh, troubled history and um, troubled like just humanity of the church, like coming back to the words and life of Jesus, I think is something that still can be my rock, as as he would say. But also at the same time, like his words and life can unsettle me, because it's not easy. It's really challenging if we really take it seriously. Like um, we can't live, we can't always be living a comfortable life if we're taking seriously the teachings of Jesus. So it's both. It's both, and it's like grounding and um, unsettling in a way.
So when it comes to the Christian faith, Jesus, the Gospels, and all of that, what in particular appeals to you about it?
hmm. Well, so I was um, born and raised Catholic, still identify as Catholic, and um, I think there is a lot of kind of beauty and strength within um, the um, the roots of the church that um, stretch back, yeah, to um, of course, stretch back towards to Jesus' life, of course, in the apostles. Um, what appeals to me about it is, I'm not sure exactly how to say it. I guess for me, it's usually like in the small, in like its smallest iterations, is where I'm most attracted to um, Christianity, such as was the case with like the early church, the um, as like when it was referred to as the way, um, and it was a small community, um, living together in solidarity and uh, common, not just common resources, but like just common life, um, and to today, where I witness that, or where I'm involved in that kind of living out of um, the gospel, is where just I feel most grounded and drawn to stay with the teachings and with um, what we call Christianity. Um, for instance, here in Kansas City, I have a couple communities that I'm a part of, such as Jerusalem Farm, who I know if you've visited and interviewed before, and another community called the Open Table, which is a dinner church that's committed to anti-racism and um, like true community. So
Did you? What
um,
kind of church did you say?
a dinner
Dinner church.
church.
Okay, I thought
Yeah,
that's what you
we
said.
have. Yeah, we have not been meeting in person for the last year, of course, but still been meeting online. And once we are able to, once it's safe again, we meet uh, Sunday evenings, like two Sundays a month, for a potluck meal, basically, and um, to yeah, share in fellowship, and we'll have um, speakers, presenters, or any other um, kind of gathering that's not just led by like one pastor. For instance, it's rotates between many people and perspectives, and takes on the road. So um,
Is com- like what did communion or the Lord's Supper, is that incorporated in the dinner, or is it more just a social dinner? Yeah.
that's kind of the yeah, that is the understanding of, or the kind of impetus of why it is a dinner church, is like that is our communion,
Okay.
um, as a not not like not as uh, ritual, as much of like a ritual as it is in the Catholic Church with Eucharist. Um, so it's yeah, it's both. It's like a
Okay.
social thing as well as yeah, the sacrament.
So, yeah, there's a particular way the Eucharist is done in the Catholic Church, and then in the Protestant Church, where I'm a part of, we have the little cups of grape juice and little
Mhm.
crackers. Um, so, do, with this type of thing, is there like a word said, like like a particular time where everyone pauses and it's like, well, now we're going to take the wine and the bread, or is it not even that structured?
Um, Within the meal itself, I guess it's not that structured. The the order of the gathering has structure, as just as a way of um, um, having a what's the word other than ritual? I guess just I think there's another word I'm looking for, but um, yeah, a ritual that is that does feel kind of grounding or comforting, and something that we can come back to. Um, so like an opening prayer or benediction, which can be anything from like a formal prayer to a poem, or uh, kind of a meditation, um, and music, of course, usually incorporate music, um, and uh, yeah, so there is an order or a structure to things, but um, it's also very much, um, I guess, more focused on the community aspect and the relationship aspect, that we are um, able to gather, around the table physically, and not with any kind of like pretense or um, uh, um, too making it too formal. Like just like let's live together, let's kind of delight in each other's company, and the food, which is always great.
Okay, that sounds neat.
To a little bit, yeah.
You know, um, in the Christian faith, it seems that Jesus on a cross crucified seems to be the center. When you walk into a Catholic church, that's what you see, foremost. And in the Protestant church, many times you see just the symbol of the cross. But even the New Testament, the gospel accounts are the story leading up to Jesus' death. So f- for you, what does that mean? Um, like, is that meaningful to you? If so, in what way? What is the significance of it? Does it give you comfort, or is that more of a secondary part of your experience with the Christian faith? Or just what are your thoughts about Jesus and his death, and then afterwards the resurrection, but that aspect?
Hmm. Um, I I'm not sure how much I could speak to it right now. Um, I guess I've just been kind of re-examining or in a time of questioning um, about like my own relationship or understanding to um, the of how specifically of how the church or churches approach and center the death and resurrection of Jesus. I don't not in a questioning in a way of like um, did it happen or was it important? I still believe that um, that it is um, critical and central to the faith. I guess yeah, just um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much yeah I can speak on it right now in this moment with any kind of clarity or uh, yeah.
Okay, so it's something. So it's something that seems central to the faith, but it's not something that, like, you have uh, a lot of explanatory type of thoughts about right now. Like, it's, I guess, is it something you think about, or is it, I, or have you had thoughts about it in the past, an understanding of it that you're kind of moving away from, or do you want to go on to a different subject?
um, yeah, I mean, I've definitely um, thought about it and still think about it all. I mean, I'm a I am a huge thinker and overthinker, so all of these things run through my head at different times or all the time. Um, but um, I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not trying to avoid it, but I guess could you could you say the question again, or maybe
Yeah,
what is it specifically that
yeah,
you're wondering about?
yeah. It just seems like a central part to the Christian faith, and just the way that the New Testament is kind of structured, and the way churches are structured, and so forth. And my in the past, the way that I've understood it has been as like a sacrifice. Uh, we, as humanity, we've fallen short of what we were created to be, and there's justice that needs to be paid. Um, and Jesus, he gave himself for us to pay, um, to redeem us, to purchase us, to somehow satisfy um, a, a justice type of debt that we owe. Um, so And then when I'm talking with people, sometimes that uh, does not resonate with them. Like to them, that appears to be um, like it's almost like putting guilt on people, that Jesus would have to die for us or something along those lines. And so some people see it more as a representative. I mean, well, as a um, like an example type of thing. He laid down, he entrusted himself into the hands of his Father, and all the way to death, and and he was vindicated. He allowed all the wickedness, the evil of humanity to be laid on him, and he just took it all. And then God vindicated him, raised him up. He didn't fight back. He allowed it to happen, and he entrusted himself into the hands of his Father. So I can see both of those things. And I'm sometimes I just think about it and try to think, what do I make of it? How it seems like it's something to take comfort in. It's something to um, I don't know. It just seems so central, but it seems a little bit like something beyond just being able to explain and in just black, in just a black and white type of way.
Mhm.
Because if any of this, well, if it's like a sacrificial type of thing, I mean, this is some kind of cosmic type of thing. How can we grasp what's going on with all of that? And it seems like it, there's two kind of explanations of it, and I think there's kind of more that are slightly different that are sometimes referred to. But so anyway, those are just some of my thoughts about it. I think there's more to it to gain from it. Um, it does seem like the central thing. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's just what I was kind of wondering about. Just any, just how do you relate to it? What does it mean to you? Um, or what has it meant to you, and so forth, just things like that type of
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Um, I guess that uh, for one thing, I mean, I'm no theologian, so I can't speak specifically to, um, you know, any of that theology or how central it is and its import to the rest of the teachings of the church or the gospel. But um, I guess my personal feelings around what I believe is referred to usually as atonement theology
Mm-hmm.
is I can't really see um, I can't really go along with like the idea that Jesus was a ransom kind of idea that um, there was a debt to be paid and so God gave his son so that it could pay the debt. Like it seems like an oversimplification, but um, also doesn't feel like um, the it doesn't it yeah I think it's also um, doesn't get to like the depth of what the the death of Christ actually meant. That um, I guess it was. was a full, like, if Jesus was the full embodiment of God, um, like the actual incarnation, like embodiment, then um, the his death, his his giving up his life for his friends, um, meaning all of us, I guess. Like he said, there's no greater love than this, to give up one's life for one's friends. Then that is, I guess, the full embodiment of um, the the love of God, like the actual active love. Um, and there's there's also an unfortunate perception, I think, around um, the execution of Christ, was that it's like, um, yeah, like you're saying, this idea that he gave himself for us, so now, like, we should feel guilty because of our sins that caused him to be crucified. I think that's a harmful um, road to go down, to see that. And also, I hear statements like, um, whenever you're struggling, like, just think about Jesus on the cross. At least, it's like, if you think you're struggling, look at Jesus. He was nailed to the cross, and like, that's, I think, the opposite of what Christ was. Not why he did it, but like, that's the opposite of like what he would want us to think. Like, he, um, uh, I suppose, of course, this is all just thoughts. I can't say, I can't speak for God, but he 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 became human so that he could, like, fully experience what it was like to be human. At least, that's my understanding of. Um, that's a teaching that's most resonated with me, I guess, in the past, and that it's not that he suffered any more than any human, because there have been great horrible things done to and happened to humans, like, just as bad as what happened to Jesus. So it's not that he suffered more and that we should be grateful that we're not crucified. It's that he didn't suffer any less either. Um, so we are we now have, like, that common experience with God, with Jesus, with the divine incarnate. Um, and like, that is, I guess, kind of the ultimate solidarity. So we talk about in the Catholic Church, one of the Catholic social teachings is around solidarity and living, not just in the abstract, not just the idea of like of being charitable, of just like giving out of your surplus, or being nice. Like, solidarity is, as much as you're able, living as um, living the experience of someone that you love, whether that is someone you're directly in relationship to, or someone you're not, or anyone, all of humanity, all of living beings. Um, I guess that is, what I would, one way, or one way that I think about um, the death, the crucifixion, the um, execution by the state that was Jesus' death.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Solidarity. And there was that So, I've heard people refer to it as like Jesus was, I don't know if this is the same thing, incarnate, so that God with us, um, and in the same way we are to be like God with others as like instruments of His love toward others in an incarnate way. And, but solidarity seems like slightly different, like identifying God identified with us and join in with us, and so that following that example, we ought to not isolate ourselves and just have self-interest, but we should identify and join in with the life of those around us for their good, and share in their experience and kind of being one with them in a sense. I guess that's what you mean by solidarity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and um, it can be tricky too. I've been reflecting a little bit in the last couple of days. So I was talking with a friend about um, solidarity and as well mercy, and um, it can be tricky in that like there can be a, I guess, kind of a power dynamic or a perception of like status or hierarchy. Not hierarchy, but like um, uh, what am I saying? With the idea of um, mercy specifically, or like the the works of mercy. There's usually this idea that I am I am like coming to serve you. I'm coming to like give you something that you lack. Um, which like this isn't to like negate the idea of mercy or the corporal works of mercy or any of that, but I think that there tends to be an over emphasis on the giving of mercy within, at least within the Christian church, and not enough emphasis on how we receive it, or how we are in solidarity with each other, and not that I'm coming to be in solidarity with you. That probably doesn't sound very clear, but what I'm saying is like I'm if I'm coming in thinking that, oh, I'm like a savior, kind of like I'm coming here to give you mercy, I'm coming here to give you charity. That's not the idea. That's not what I think Jesus was getting at when he came in. Even though he was um, God incarnate, it wasn't done in a way of like, oh, I'm coming here to just like save you poor people. Like it was in solidarity. It was like, I'm coming here to live with you, live in a direct relationship with you, live as you do, um, live in a poor, simple life. And remember also he didn't relate much with the rich and the powerful. He lived with the poor and the marginalized of society, and um, so it's I guess whenever I kind of start thinking that, oh, I'm uh, coming in to um, help these poor people, or like be merciful towards somebody who needs mercy. I think it's easy to get misguided in that, or very quickly, um, and critical. It's critical to remember that, um, first of all, just that we're just all human, and we just have this in common, and we're trying to get by, and we can get by only with each other, um, and that at different times in different spaces, like we're all going to need um, some more help, and other times we're able to give more help. I don't even like using the word help there, but like, insert whatever, love, um, presence, um, um, a listening ear, uh, support, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And I can see the point because Jesus' harshest words toward those who were religious and disciplined and had it all together, like Pharisees, um, and they didn't see the world clearly because they saw themselves as really having it all together and being pleasing with God, because of how well they followed God's commandments and so forth, and they looked down upon the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the sinners. But I was reading Proverbs this morning, and a lot of times it's contrasted, the righteous and the wicked, and it's trying to motivate a person, the reader, to realize, it makes a big difference in your life what path you go. There's a path that's being upright, honest, um, accepting a rebuke. There's that, and then there's a path of wickedness, not wanting to hear a rebuke, wanting to feed on folly, and wanting to be perverse and deceitful and so forth. And it makes a and so there's a lot of distinguishment between these two things. So it's a little bit, when faced with that too, and another person who it seems like they're feeding on folly, so to speak, and
Mm.
it's hard to. So so I see the point of what you're all saying, what you're saying, and it all makes sense. Um, but there's also that, but I don't know. I guess that we all are human is an equalizer, in that I think it's St. Paul, who said, we all fall short and so forth. So that all kind of puts us in the same boat. So anyway, just some different thoughts on that, I guess. But
Yeah, I think it's, yeah. I mean, critical to remember that, like, remember the complexity of being human, of being alive, and that it's never, like you say, the wicked and the upright. It's never black and white as that. It's never as like,
mm-hmm.
um, here are the good ones, here are the bad ones. Um, Even though, like, I guess there's a parable that Jesus says, like, separates the goats and the and the sheep, but
Right.
I my understanding is that, like, it's never so dualistic. It's never, um, so simple as, um, here's right, here's wrong. Not in a, like, way of like everything's cool, but like it's never so simple. And being human, um, just humans are complex, and we're also just like these biological organisms that, are affected by so many things within our lifetime and before our lifetime. Um, when you think of things like, generational trauma um, and our environments, so, as well as like our spiritual, um, states, which perhaps, like, I think, like, deep down at our core, I guess we could call our spiritual core, is a place that's unsettled by everything that we perceive. But, uh, as you move outward from that core, it just gets mushier, I guess you could say, and that like more malleable by lived experiences. So people can uh, do uh, horrible things to each other and to the world. From what I understand, it's it comes not out of nowhere, not out of like they just want to do bad. It comes out of there's a history behind it that someone um, had. Um, yeah, there's reasons behind it, and it's not to excuse their actions. Um, it is trying to understand where it comes from. I might be speaking a little vague here, but like for instance, um, if somebody is violent, if somebody murders somebody, then it is like we have to look back, like what led to this point. It wasn't just that they are a bad person that decided to go out and kill somebody. Like, I mean, I don't want to simplify it either because there's so many uh, endless amount of stories out there that led to that. But like, it's never just about a person being sinful, or that like they are um, one of the wicked. I don't know. Maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, but I just wanted to, explore and emphasize that um, we are um, we are um, these complex beings that um, are in need of, like I said, mercy from each other and um, compassion and understanding, and how that's, of course, acted out or how that's done is also um, as varied and diverse as there are people in this world.
So it's not so much like they're one of the wicked, we're one of the righteous. It's more kind of more like, well, we're both one of the wicked and one of the righteous. Um, and that's kind of like the human lot, perhaps, that good comes from us, but wickedness comes from us as well. It just may be a different type of wickedness or look different in my life than in someone else's life.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the yeah, how we what words we use to describe it is just different. I um, I would not use the term wicked for anybody, um, but I think yeah, it's just like describing in a different way.
Well, like just because something can be explained doesn't mean that it's not wicked. For example, if someone murdered someone, like your example, you could see the things leading up to them, how that person had been mistreated and abused, and whatever might have shaped that person. But just because it can be explained doesn't mean it's not wicked. But then there's the matter of like, well, is that person wicked? What they
Right.
did was wicked, but what about that person? And that could be a different thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think we could talk for a long time about that.
Yeah. Um, do you have any routines that are meaningful to you?
Hmm, hmm. um, Routines. Um, just day to day routines,
Yeah, or
like
just
brush my teeth
anything.
and
Excuse me. Oh, well, things that nourish your spirit, things that help you make progress in life? Um, just anything along that line that uh, is that you found is helpful to you, and that you want to share.
Yeah. Um, well, I think often I can get down on myself a little bit because there's a lot of routines or practices that I want to do more regularly, like journaling, um, just like a moment of being still and silent every day, um, like kind of like meditation, even for a few minutes. So those are things that I think I'm constantly like trying to do more regularly, but also like trying not to beat myself up when I don't do them. So the things that I think that I have more regularly and that are life giving to me are, um, for instance, the gatherings with my faith communities with Jerusalem Farm and the Open Table, and I haven't been able to attend at my Catholic parish, but hopefully I will soon because I was, well, whenever it comes, I'm looking forward to it. I was in the choir at my church, and to be able to sing with this small community there, and um, just like checking in with friends and family. I think it may not seem like a routine, but and it's maybe not like consistently regular. I think just making sure that um, time does not too much time goes by, or even when it does, it's fine. Just like making sure that I check in with those I love and that are important to me, um, and then um, being outside, being um, in the woods, or yeah, wherever walking and biking is. It's not just exercise for me. It's um, it's as well as physical. It's spiritual and mental health um, for for me, and also I've been doing just regular therapy counseling since November, and that's for the first time in my life, and it's been really critical or really helpful for me and understanding myself and my patterns and my brain and how I can live better in relationship with in better relationship with myself and with um, those who are closest to me and
So,
everyone else, everything else.
what does what's the most benefit of talking with a therapist? Like, what really happens that's helpful when a person meets with a therapist?
Hmm. Um, for me personally, uh, one is just being able to process, just to like spill my guts, just talk without having to worry about um, offending. Um, not, I mean, not not that I'm not like sensitive to the therapist also, but like therapists generally are, like trained to just like uh, not not um, not be offended, not take it in. Um, Sorry, tangent, but being able to just like process through and talk things out is something that's uh, doesn't come naturally to me. I'm not usually an external processor, so um, it's helpful because it's just amazing how much uh, more insight can come from that. It's like writing as well. It's another great way of like just kind of congealing all the swirling thoughts in my head,
Hmm.
so they become a little clearer. Um,
So, does
and then,
I'm sorry. Does how the therapist reply to your thoughts helpful, or is it more of just you getting it out and hearing yourself? If is that the helpful part?
Yeah, I think it's both for
Okay.
me. Yeah, I think the um, having this outside perspective, having this kind of quote unquote neutral third party, able to feedback or give like a reflection of what I'm saying, um, is super helpful. In addition to having their um, their training and their education to be able to identify when something um, seems not necessarily seems off, but like just kind of understanding what's going on, because there are a lot of common patterns within the human brain. And oftentimes, I think we tend to think that it's just me, like it's um, I'm the only one who's thinking like this, or who's going through this. But it's most of the time, it's like, no, there's millions or billions of other people who have the same things, and it's normal. Um, and there are ways, there are techniques and um, practices that can help you kind of retrain or not retrain, form new neural pathways. If you're thinking specifically in um, psychological way, but like um, um, create um, new habits, or I guess new um, doorways as well, that like are like unlocking doors that you've been maybe stuck at for a while. It's helpful to have a kind of companion in that.
Well, thanks. Did I interrupt you, or were you? Was there
I
anything
was
else
gonna
you?
I was gonna say the same
Okay.
thing that you asked about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, was there anything in particular that comes to mind as far as impacts on your life that's really shaped you to be who you are? Like any particular people or any particular books that were a turning point in your life and have impacted you?
Hmm. Yes. Um, hmm. How do I choose a couple examples? Well, I guess uh, since you mentioned books, I could start there. Just that when I was younger, I think in high school, um, there was I was especially interested in Buddhism and kind of Eastern religion. I've always been really interested in learning from all the world religions, but um, I was especially drawn to like Buddhist teachings, and um, there was there's several things I read, but one book was The Art of Happiness, which was a book that was like an interview of the Dalai Lama, and it's been a long time since I've read it, so I'm not sure like what I would think of it now, but I think that there is just generally a lot of great beauty and wisdom within um, Buddhism, which Buddhism itself is a diverse faith or belief system. But the ideas, just the ideas of compassion and um, um, how to live that out. Let's see here, what else? Um, More recently, there's a book called God's Hotel, which is about actually more about like the medical field. But for some reason, like it just really resonated with me, and in that it's like um, Dr. Victoria Sweet is the author, and she talks about the idea of slow medicine, where you are, um, where doctors and nurses and medical professionals uh, in today's world, in today's like American health system at least, are pushed to like be efficient and like get people in and out all the time. But for like a lot of like chronic um, conditions, you have to take time. You have to like observe the this person who is unwell, and like there's no other way of doing that. You can't do it fast. Um, so it's yeah, I'm not sure why like it was so captivating to me, who's not in the medical field, that I guess that like slowing down and observing, and I'm like observation is a huge part of who I am. If you're familiar with the Enneagram at all, like I'm a 5, and that's huge. Um, so it's as well as like there's a lot of really interesting things in that book, and she references or she researched Saint Hildegard a lot, and so I recommend that book. Um, there's also I'm not sure how necessarily it like shaped me or influenced me, but it did influence me. The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, um, which is a a sci-fi kind of set in the future. But I mean, Octavia Butler is an incredible author, and this book like shook me. I just read it a couple years ago, and it shook me for many reasons. Like one is that it seemed so plausible, or it seems so possible that this like future is ahead of us, where with climate catastrophe and the fall of like our economic systems, and how what that would be like, what that could be like. Um, and she also basically kind of invents a religion within this book, or within these like 2 books. I haven't finished reading the second book, the Parable of Talents, but the kind of precepts around what the main character comes up with in this um, religion or faith that she helps create is um, challenging, and also like feels like there's just a lot of wisdom in it as well. So it's amazing what just one author, one artist can do.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, those are a few books
Okay.
that have been influential over the years.
Okay. Cool. How have you been growing lately, or how do you want to grow as I'm referring to you as a person, spiritually, or just in your being who you are. Is there anything going on right now for you, or anything that you direction that you want to go as far as personal growth goes?
uh, yes, I think most definitely. Um, um, where to begin, or what to choose? You know, we don't have all the time in the world. Um, I guess area is one area I'm being challenged and being kind of pushed and encouraged to grow in is um, speaking, um, which is so like speaking up, speaking out, just speaking my um, my feelings and my thoughts and my uh, let me I guess be more specific and like for instance, speaking up in terms of injustice in this world, speaking up against um, racism and white supremacy in all of its forms in our culture. Um, and it's like, especially in like the subtle ways that we don't perceive it um, within our own minds and conditioning and um, communities and relationships. Um, Me as a white person, I have a lot of privilege within our culture and system, so it's like my responsibility to speak up when I see these, when I witness it, and not just be silent because like I could be silent, and for a lot of my life I have been, as I've been learning more, especially over the last couple of years. It's like becomes more of my duty, and something I want to do is um, not just speak up and not just speak out, but like in terms of like calling out, but like trying to just like have these conversations um, with people that I'm in direct relationship with, so that um, like we can continue to um, deconstruct um, the racism that's built within our culture and create something new. I don't, I'm not coming at it as an expert at all. I'm always learning, and I think we all are. So that's one example that I've been kind of a growing edge for me. Um, and uh, um, and yeah, also just we're simply like in terms of relationships, um, of all my relationships, but um, especially those closest to me, like um, just more clearly communicating uh, what are my feelings, and like both whether that is um, the love and affection that I have for somebody, um, is something that I don't communicate very naturally, but something that is like important for um, more depth, going deeper, and um, as well at the same time, like um, standing up and advocating for myself when I have um, um, when something is, you know, uh, when a boundary is crossed, for instance, or whatever my specific needs are, um, is like important, as well as um, standing up and advocating for someone else, or and um, being present to and listening to, being sensitive to um, the needs and boundaries of um, those that I'm in relationship with. So um, yeah, I guess that's a rambly way of saying that I'm uh, my one of my growing areas of growth is speaking up, out, and speaking more.
Okay, well, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions about just the practical aspects of poetry, like just enjoying it or creating it. But first, is there just anything on your mind, any topic that you would like to bring up?
Mm, no, nothing more than we've touched on a lot. So I feel pretty good about it.
Well, so for me, poetry is something that I struggle to enjoy. Um, Now, I have enjoyed, um, I haven't read a whole lot of your poetry, but I have taken a look at your website, and there's been things on there I've enjoyed. But for the most part, like I have a book of Emily Dickinson, and most of the poetry, I'm just like, what is being said? I feel like the communication's not coming across. And that's how it is for me for a lot of poetry. Now, when poetry is an area where I do like to express myself, and just in my journal, it's like what I would go to if I wanted to just express some kind of express how I'm feeling like at the time. I would do it in poetry. And probably, I doubt if the communication would, like if someone was to read it, would they get anything out of it? I don't know. But it's just like, for me, what I would go to if I was just somehow wanting to kind of get out and express, what's going on in me, or just how I'm feeling as I'm sitting here or whatever. Do you have any thoughts about, has enjoying poetry always come kind of naturally for you? Does it, or if not, do you have suggestions for how to um, get out of it what's there? And or any thoughts about creating poetry? Um, is there some kind of structure that's helpful um, to when it comes to creating poetry? Is there some kind of structure that's helpful to follow, or um, is it just don't do you not even matter? Does structure not even matter? It's just whatever flows from your pen.
Yeah. So I think that there are two sides of it as far as the enjoying or reading poetry. At least two, but the two I'm thinking of is that one, the more you learn about poetry, the more you learn about anything, the more likely you are to appreciate it, enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. If you come at it from that direction, as like, okay, maybe I can read um, something as simple as like an article that is, or a review of a poem or a review of a book of poetry, like
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's not too like academic and they are like using big words, but reading somebody else's appreciation um, might help you appreciate it more, um, because yeah, like Emily Dickinson is of course one of the greatest American poets, but for most people it can seem a little impenetrable. Um, but if you read about her life and um, um, why she wrote the way she did or used the word she did, there might be, I think you might be able to see like, oh yeah, that's a really beautiful way of phrasing that she did there. Um, but also, um, the other kind of direction you could come is like just keep reading around until you find something that resonates with you. Not every poet, not every artist is going to make something that you like, and that's fine. Like, I think that there's such diversity of people, a diversity of mindsets and likes and dislikes in this world that like just because you don't get something, one doesn't mean that it's bad art, but also just because something is good art doesn't mean you have to like it. So specifically with poetry, just keep um, looking to new ones, and uh, I'm sure you'll find something that like really feels, really like stirs something inside of you, and that's I think what is um, one of the most central parts of art and poetry. It's like finding that resonant frequency. And likewise with writing or creating yourself, just you can also just do freestyle and just like whatever comes to mind, just write, and then eventually something you might surprise yourself with what you write, and like, oh, was that within me? Or that was inside of me? Like, and if you feel like sharing it, you'll probably be surprised that somebody else out there will resonate with it as well. So it's like I was talking earlier about kind of common human universal experiences. That's what we can find within poetry often is a a connection, maybe even, dare I say, solidarity um, with being, with living, and as far as like structure, like there's definitely a lot of structure out there, or like formulas, or what's the word, um, forms of poetry that you can use as like a starting point, or as like a prompt to help you um, help prompt that creativity. I am not formally educated in poetry and writing, and most of my stuff is freestyle, but incorporating just like rhyme and rhythm that comes to me as I'm writing. So I can't speak too much to the more formal structure, but like I think there's definitely a lot of possibility with that if someone's interested in looking into it. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jeremy, for the conversation and for giving thoughtful answers to a lot of kind of probably tough questions, or things you weren't prepared for and so forth. But
I love tough questions.
I appreciate that. Is there anything you want to leave off with as far as yourself? About, do you want to mention your website or how people can be uh, get into contact with you or anything like that?
Sure. I'm always happy to talk, and people can feel free to look at my work. It's photojeremy.com. It's my website, or my name, jeremyruzich.com. They both lead the same place. And I'm still working on getting up some more of my like personal artwork and poetry on there. But there's also I'm also on Instagram. Is kind of where I'm most active as far as social media. And yeah, I'm happy to, if anybody wants to drop me a line and talk about art or talk about some potential projects. Always eager to hear more stories. Um, and otherwise, yeah, thank you for inviting me and talking and being open to wherever my mind or our conversation went. Enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.